Hi, I'm Allison,
Hello, I'm Jafeth.
and this is the 10th.
Episode. This
This
is
is the
an
10th
episode.
episode. It's the 10th episode of Existing.
We're recording these very out of order, so we might forget what number episode we're on. But yeah, this is the 10th, we
This is
believe.
number 10.
We've hit
Yeah.
double digits, y'all.
Woo! This is funny because technically we tried recording this episode last week
Mm-hmm.
and we got to the end. And then my computer overheated and shut down, so it all disappeared.
Yeah. Y'all, it was an hour and a half,
It
and we
was,
were literally
oh.
at the outro.
Yeah, we were literally saying bye, and then I saw my screen freeze, and Jafeth texted me like, "Hey, you froze," and I was like, "No, my whole computer froze. Like it wasn't just Zoom."
Yeah, so
But yes, you can listen to us on such a bad transition. But you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And we upload every Monday at 11 p.m. And where can they find us, Javed?
y'all can find us on Instagram at existingpodcast for little updates and well, we haven't really been posting
Yeah, I
updates.
was like, update? That's funny.
Hopefully we will be posting updates, but updates and for sure
Teasers.
teasers of the little episodes or just little reminders, that we
Like, hey,
posted.
you didn't listen to our new episode yet? Here's a reminder.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But speaking of why we haven't been doing updates, it is
Uh,
because we have been so busy being productive.
wow, that was good.
Thank you, thank you.
Wow, we've been productive. But this episode's going to be about feeling or like not when we're not productive, basically.
Yeah, we're basically just gonna talk about productivity and its relation to capitalism. Mwahaha.
It's going to get to capitalism at some point, but
Yeah, but it's just kind of how we feel about being productive and how we feel when we're not productive, and then probably
mhm.
talking about why that is.
I feel like a lot of people could probably relate, like because of COVID and like quarantine, we've had a lot of free time, like
Mm-hmm.
which is a privilege, a blessing.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like we didn't have any work to do, like from school or like like a job. Really, it was very difficult to deal with that like weird like feeling like I feel like I need to be doing something right now, but
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
reality, you don't need to be doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about that basically.
Yeah, and that feeling is very odd, especially, when you're in a pandemic, when you shouldn't be doing anything, but here you are with the constant feeling that, like, dang, I should be doing something, and if I'm not doing anything, I'm wasting my time type of thing, but
I think it was really funny, like in the beginning phases of like pandemic, like lockdown, all of that.
mm-hmm,
People were really into doing just everything. Like people were
mm-hmm,
like, "Oh, look at all of these free classes," or like, "Look, I'm gonna learn how to cook or something."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like everyone was just doing everything, and then it kind of dropped off. I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely agree because I remember in the beginning I saw a whole bunch of people on Twitter. They were just like, "Oh, we're doing all of this or doing all of this," or like you mentioned, a lot of universities were putting out like free classes online that you could
Mm-hmm.
take to basically continue your education or have something to do, which definitely also didn't help in the feeling productive
Oh.
makes me feel or doing nothing makes me feel like guilty or bad for not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything.
Because for us, because we were still in school, like in the beginning, like March, April, May ish. So that guilt of like not being productive wasn't really there. I get like for you,
Hmm.
was it the same? Like,
No, 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 no.
oh, you still felt that like during school?
Oh no, I meant it. No, I didn't feel the guilt being in school.
Yeah, like because of school, we didn't feel that guilt. But then once we
Hmm.
hit our like summer break and we were kind of we really had nothing to do, I think for me, that's when it like hit like, oh wow, I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Hmm. But it's funny because thinking about it now, it's not as if we would have done something over this. Or I don't know about you, but
Hmm.
usually my summers are spent not really doing much.
Yeah, usually like college I usually actually do something at least, like either a class at a community college or like an internship.
Oh, yeah. I think what amplified it a little more for me was I was already thinking about taking an online class to fulfill
Oh
some last
yeah.
requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up deciding not to. So once summer started and I wasn't taking the classes because I decided I'm just gonna. This is like technically like my last summer.
Yeah,
So I'm not
yeah.
gonna do anything.
Mm.
But then once that happened, I just kind of regretted it because I had absolutely nothing to do. And then I also have no self discipline to take on one of those free online classes given by Harvard or
Mm-hmm,
whatever
mm-hmm.
because I would just start it and then like one example I told you and our other friend
Mm-hmm.
that I would start studying either Korean or Japanese.
Oh yeah, you told me. Or you were considering Thai, I think, at one point too.
I still want to learn Thai. I still want to learn languages, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just difficult because there's no pressure.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like in terms of like self-studying over quarantine summer, I tried to also study. Okay, I was most successful in studying more Korean because I already had like resources and like, material to study with. But then I
Mhm.
also want to like start studying. Or actually, I don't even know if I want to. It was just there, like Duolingo. I started studying like
Mm-hmm.
Japanese and French, but it's
Oh,
not like I
we.
was we but I wasn't consistent with any of it because for languages, you like repetition is really important if you're not immersed in the language already. Like, you don't live in an area where it's spoken.
Yeah.
It's just up to us to learn it.
Yeah.
And I was not good about that. And I had like the same experience trying to study for the LSAT because I was like, oh, I could get ahead. But then I would also think like, oh, but when school starts again, I won't retain this information. So why start now? So I kept like flipping and flopping back and forth between like, oh, let's study versus like, I don't need to, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't feel that because I wasn't studying it all over the summer. But, uh, yeah. Also, to go back to the languages thing,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, there's nowhere I'm gonna be able to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So studying and like I already know Spanish,
Yeah.
but it's a very colloquial version of Spanish.
Oh.
So the Spanish that I took Spanish in high school too for the EZA. But I took Spanish and the Spanish that they teach you, like the formal version of Spanish, is almost nothing like what you'll use if you go to a Spanish speaking country.
Yahweh.
Yeah.
Like I didn't learn that in
Because
school.
yeah, because obviously like every country and city and region has their own colloquialisms, but it's just like so funny because even I learned some things in that Spanish class. Like in Spanish, I didn't know there were multiple times of past tense or multiple forms of past tense.
It's funny because like I didn't know we had that in English either until I took.
Oh, we do?
Like I
Oh,
have
like
been.
past participle? A
Participle.
Oops. Oopsies.
Oh yeah, like those things. Like I didn't really become aware of like, oh, we have conjugations in English until I took like Spanish because it's like formally learning a language.
Yeah, but that discourages me from learning a language like in school just because
You saw like how different it was.
yeah, and I'm like, well, what I'm learning isn't exactly gonna be exactly conversational.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like. But at the same time, it's better learning, I guess, than not learning.
Yeah, like I know people say like, oh, the best way to learn a language is to just go to that country where it's spoken natively. They say that like it's an easy thing. Like
Yeah, like let me just pack my bags. And,
yeah, let
and
me just
go
real quick. Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, travel should not be as expensive as it is.
Yeah, I mean I get like first class or whatever is expensive, but dang.
Yeah, but yeah, back to productivity.
Productivity.
So I don't think we ever explicitly said the feeling we feel or like how we feel when we're not doing anything. So it's just like guilt, basically.
Yeah, it's guilt.
And guilt because we are not actively doing something to essentially better our chances of getting money in the future.
Yeah,
or pursuing our career.
Yeah, and by like productivity, we mean the like studying like things that will help us in the future, and those things are more likely to be skills that we can use for like a job or a career. Like technically doing anything is being like literally productive, like watching YouTube, but we're not talking about that. I guess okay, the YouTube example example, like an unproductive thing we would be doing on YouTube is just watching like any video, but then because of that guilt of not feeling productive, when I would watch YouTube videos, it would be like TED Talk, you know, those, or like video essays or something. Even my like rest activities, the guilt was like working its way into those and turning them into what I thought would be productive.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Well, also apart from that, I don't know, I don't watch TED Talks because personally I think some of them are a little like
preachy.
I don't want to watch them.
Or not,
yeah.
I didn't watch TED Talks, but like, you know those animated videos they have, like the TED,
Oh,
do you know what
yeah,
I'm talking about? Like they'll ask a weird question like, what is the history of cheese? And I'm like, you know what, I think I need to know this.
I know what you're talking about. I've never watched it though.
Like
No,
those
yeah.
videos, not the preachy.
Yeah. No, yeah, I also kind of got into that, but there's some videos, like educational videos that I actually enjoy, so it's not really like, oh, like I'm consciously thinking of like, oh, I'm not being productive, I'm feeling guilty, let me watch, or obviously not consciously thinking, I'm probably like, it's probably subconscious or something.
Yeah.
But I watch like video essays on, recently I've been watching video essays on Shrek and like Shrek 2. Honestly, that movie's so good. I recently watched a Marxist analysis on Shrek. It was pretty good. There were some flaws here and there, but it was pretty good. But those things, I feel like even though they're not explicitly hammering in my brain new information of different economic theories and how to make money, it's like I feel like I'm being enriched.
When I would watch those like TED, I think they're called TED Ed videos or something, or stuff like that, it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. Like, oh, this is entertaining, but I also feel like I'm bettering myself as a person somehow. But like, why I should just be able to watch like a dumb video without a guilty conscience, because like it's a pandemic, just staying inside and watching that video is good enough, you know.
And at this time, quite literally doing nothing is the best possible thing you could do for yourself and for other people. Like, don't go to work.
Yeah.
Like, don't. And it sounds weird saying that because it's like, you know, people, like, there are obviously, like, essential workers and people that, like, we benefit from that they're working. But there are also there's businesses open that don't need to be open.
Like, how are you an essential business?
Yeah, I'm like, we don't need, or if there is, like, we don't need every single one of those businesses open.
Yeah.
Like, it could be, like, a select few, and then, I don't know, I think it's just people trying to cling on to the last bit of, like, pre-pandemic life that there was, which is annoying, because that's not going to help us in recovery.
Yeah. They're keeping as many businesses as, like, they can open just because, like, you know, people need to get paid. But that, I feel like the blame for that can also be pointed to the government, because the government should be assisting those businesses, but they aren't. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't be the reason of like, I need this store open because I need to go to work and make money. That shouldn't be like a problem right now. That shouldn't even be like up for discussion, because like the government should be taking care of you during a global pandemic.
Yeah, it's just kind of odd how every time some kind of crisis goes on, it falls on the shoulders of like consumers and like specifically like the working class to maintain the economy running. But it's like not even them that truly benefit from what they're working. Mucho interesante, mi thing.
But like in one of our classes, like right now, we were talking about what should the government have done with PPE, right?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, I'm pretty sure like from what the professor was saying, like all of the responses from our class, everyone was saying like it should have been free. And I think that's, people are becoming more aware of like, hey, the government should be taking care of its people in that way. It's a necessity. Like PPE during a global pandemic like this is a necessity. But at the same time, they were also putting people in jail for manufacturing their own PPE because like those product designs were like copyrighted or something, so like, or patented, so they were like, hey, you can't do that. So you're gonna imprison someone for making PPE during a pandemic? Like, really?
Yeah. So along the lines of that class, a reason our professor gave and some students probably also gave was because of capitalism.
Oh yeah, she calls capitalism the C word.
Yes. She said the C word, and I thought she was I thought she was about to curse.
And the thing is, Jafeth and I were thinking of different curse words though.
I think a lot of people thought she was about to curse.
But both of us were like, for why, ma'am? Like
yeah. But yeah, essentially she said capitalism was pretty much to blame for like the rise in price of PPE, as well as the shortage and people not being able to get their hands on PPE during a pandemic, which I think kind of goes the common factor between that situation and our need to feel productive is capitalism. And why is that, Miss Allison?
Why is that?
Yes. Why is capitalism to blame for our need to feel productive?
Oh, we're going to be a part of the laboring force, you know, so the capitalist system has kind of taught us that we need to be enhancing ourselves as a laborer, like, so we can create more capital and, like, you know, and whatnot. That wasn't very eloquent, but there we go.
Nice.
Jafeth, please elaborate
Yeah.
on this.
Well, because when we previously recorded, we had like this really good, like there was this really good segment where we were like talking about it. Essentially, to condense that down, it's noticeable through the education system in the country you're in. So here in the U.S., it's very to begin with.
Or like the time we're in school versus the time we do homework, or like we're expected to do work for school outside of school, is comparable to the country's working culture.
Yes, because I think I don't actually remember, like, because basically here when you're working, and this was something that I don't know, for some reason stuck to me, but in the US, I remember watching a video of foreigners and their reaction to US work culture, and they were shocked to understand or to find out how much American worker or US workers, how much they worked outside of work.
Yeah.
Without really getting paid for it, because a lot of American workers, like a lot of US workers, work at home even after they're done working at work, with the hopes that they'll get a promotion or they'll like enhance their skills so they can transfer those skills wherever else, but essentially to get a promotion to make more money.
But like, yeah, this is more true for like white collar workers.
Yeah. And in other countries, it's frowned upon at times, or it's frowned upon to work at home or to work overtime.
Yes. Now I'm remembering what we talked about. The example that I brought up before was in Denmark. Well, the Norwegian, like Scandinavian countries, like they're a lot more advanced than us on multiple levels. But specifically, like their work culture, I was reading about it, and basically, people leave work exactly at 5, and parents are expected to leave at 4 so that they have more time to spend with their kids at home, because culturally they view their work and their private and social lives to be very separate. Like they don't seek happiness from their jobs. Like here, you know, we talk about like dream jobs a lot, or, you know, like finding, like doing what you love as a job. But in Denmark, they don't view it that way, because when you work, like that's it. And because Americans are, in the US, we blur those lines a lot. That's kind of like also contributing to like why we do so much work outside of work.
Yeah, and kind of to go off of the whole dream job thing, it's just funny how now you can see that mimicked in our education systems, because even as you're in your first year as a person in the US education system, you're kind of asked, what's your dream job, or that kind of thing, because it's like your expectation is to work for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah.
Or it's to get you conditioned to be in the workforce, which it's so funny, because saying it, I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? But at the same time, it's like you're being conditioned to like essentially like work. And I don't know if that sounds it might sound really weird to whoever's listening to this, to be like, well, yeah, what else are you gonna do? But that's exactly like what's to criticize.
We don't really have to.
Yeah, like the economy is man-made. Like, at any point, people can say, actually, this is like our currency now is going to be rocks. And they're so like, let's use rocks and money will be rendered useless. So it's just funny when you think about it because people are always actively pursuing money when money at any point can lose all its value.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
it's just, thank you for agreeing with a fact. um, no, but it's just so odd because people think that the economy is like set in stone and that when Earth was created, so was the free market. Like, no, it was not.
Adam, Eve, and the economy.
Yeah, like what the heck? That's not how it works, y'all.
Yeah.
And at any point, the government could be like, you know what? No more homeless people.
Oh, they could. Oh my God, they actually could. Like that's
Or
that's
Jeff
real.
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos could signal. Oh my God, that whole thread, like that Twitter thread, where it's like, this is what Jeff Bezos could do with all of his money and still be like a billionaire at the end of it. That was so frustrating because like he could literally end world hunger if he wanted to.
And shooters for Jeff Bezos, this is like defenders of Jeff Bezos.
Like aggressive defenders.
Defenders of Jeff Bezos to me are like, why? This man does not know you exist. He will not pick you and be like, he defended me on Twitter, or they defended me on Twitter.
Let me give you an Amazon gift card.
Yeah, like, hello? Like, how about pay taxes, sir? Or how about, I don't know if he pays taxes. Probably doesn't.
Amazon did, like, they don't. Income taxes. Like, I don't know the details, but I know at some point they did not pay their like business taxes.
Speaking of Amazon, I just remembered the shooter for Amazon.
Oh my God, in our class?
Yeah. Like, they weren't defending, but they were definitely not putting him up for scrutiny that he deserves.
Let's just, we'll, like, mention this really quickly. We're discussing the trolley problem. It's like, oh.
The moral dilemma.
Yeah, you know, who would you rather sacrifice? One singular person, that would be Jeff Bezos, or 5 Amazon workers. And for someone in our class, this was a difficult decision to make because Amazon is a respectable company.
I don't think she said respectable. I think she said decent.
Really? Or
she said decent.
Oh, decent? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But like, still, it is definitely not a decent company.
Anyways, well, yeah, like that.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say I respect your opinion, but that's like objectively not a correct opinion.
Like, they define decent company. I don't know. Like, I mean, we talked about Amazon in another episode already.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Number 6, like.
No more promo. No more promo for Amazon.
Yeah, that's enough. The dream job thing.
Oh, yeah,
Loving what you do. If you think about it, it's because there's an expectation that you're going to be spending the rest of your life working. So they're trying to like feed it to you in a way, but you're going to enjoy working forever if you do what you love. I mean, I'm not like an artist or anything, but I feel like your creative freedom is hindered when you have to make money doing art. Cause you know, you could easily succumb to like trends or, you know, what your customers want. You might sacrifice your creative freedom in order to make money.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. Like, I agree. A point the point that I wanted to add on is also the fact that people really like to bring up if the government hands us things like, you know, the necessities, housing, money for food, that people are going to be lazy. Although I understand where they are coming from, and I understand in a world I understand that that's a possibility.
It's like logically sound to an extent.
It's logically sound. But there are people with the current like system that we're working under. There are still people who drop out of university from like STEM degrees, STEM majors. They don't pursue becoming doctors and instead do art because they actually like art, even though they know that there's almost no money in becoming an artist. So to me, it's like, doesn't that make you feel like, oh, people wouldn't just work for money because there are people who are actively deciding to do what they like instead of pursuing something that'll make them money? And then to go along with that, it's like medical school is really expensive, or university in general is really expensive. So obviously only people with money are going to be able to go through it. And people who really, let's say, really want to be a doctor and love being a doctor and want to help people for realsies. Not just because there's big money in doctors, they are basically discouraged and put at an extreme disadvantage because they do not have a social construct that will get them through that. Money is that social construct.
Wealth breeds wealth. It's a positive feedback loop. If you're rich, you're gonna have more opportunities to make more money, and that's why the American dream isn't real. That's not real. No,
Yeah.
like maybe a long time ago it was, but now making money like that to go from like nothing to, the top whatever percent, that's just not realistic at this point.
But even when it was realistic, it's like realistic for
Very
who?
few
Like the
people.
same exact people
Yeah.
that, and then you would have the occasional woman, black person,
Yeah.
Latino, Asian, and it's like, and then they would basically be like, "Oh, look at them. You could
Oh,
do
like
it
the
because
poster
that
child.
person did it." And it's like, "Well, no." I mean, no, not
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, that's why I don't know if I mentioned this before in a previous episode, but that's why I hate like those. That's why I don't like motivational speakers and those like motivational movies about minorities that get rich.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about those like motivational, those like underdog, like
Yeah,
people of color underdog stories. Like I don't know if we talked about
yeah,
that in the episode that got deleted or actually in another episode, but those are annoying.
yeah. Because it's also just very sad because it's like so happy for that person that ended up making it,
Of course. Oh
and
yeah.
like with all that they went through all that adversity and came out on top, and that's great. And in a
Mm,
system like this one, it's nearly impossible, but
yeah.
it also essentially takes away the value of lives from minorities that did make it, because it's like that those
Yeah.
films kind of say, oh, this person is worth something now because they were super really really poor, but now they're really really rich and they're
And they worked
valuable.
really hard. Yeah, and they worked
Yeah,
really
and it's
hard.
like, really, like,
Yeah, and then also from like just I guess more of the like media standpoint of that, the people who are making those movies, I'm gonna assume are white. It's more likely that they are white. Film
yeah,
executives, almost all of them are white of the like the major film production companies.
yeah.
So like a white person investing the money to make this film to tell this story. For them to it's just like white people are telling like them like, oh, this is the acceptable narrative. We're gonna tell your story if it's like
Hmm.
this.
Also, the movie I was referring to while explaining this was The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone's just wondering, it's a really good movie, by the way. It's not a bad movie. It's just like overall, the
Yeah.
story.
Was that based off a true story? It was,
Yeah, the guy
right?
became a really big investor.
Wow. I just remember this because we talked about this last time. We say last time as if they know, but only we know this. But,
Yeah.
um, but when we were like comparing the work culture of like Denmark and the U.S., I remember that I was like, oh wait, but the U.S. isn't. It's not great, but there's also like cultures that are more intense and like kind of worse than that, in my opinion. Like East Asia, like Korea, office workers are kind of expected to go overtime a lot of the times. And also, like, if you're team leader, like, yeah, I guess team leader is the right word. You can't leave the office until they leave first. It's very rude and deeply disrespectful to leave before your manager on like a given workday.
I'd be
Yeah.
like, you know what, bug it. I gotta go.
It's like rude. Like that's not like an option. You can't do that. And people are getting overworked, and I think some cases they die from being overworked. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I heard and then watched that Korean students, like it's a
Oh
regular
yeah.
Korean students like schedule, like school schedule is 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or midnight.
And yeah, and that is crazy because I can't even, like, for me, when I was in school, even freaking 2 hours in school was too much to just like not be at home.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then like bringing it back to the point where like how work schedules and like school/homework schedules mimic each other, because in America when you do homework it's at home, it's not at like a tutoring academy or something. But in Korea it is. So if school ends at 3, you're going to an academy after school. So it's like official. It's still kind of like in an official type of setting, if that makes sense. I don't know how it is in Denmark though.
I don't want anyone from Denmark to like get their egos inflated, because the only reason that that's possible is because there are other countries that like the whole like never mind, I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're from Denmark, cool, I guess. I mean, good for you.
I
I
guess.
hope you're happy.
They're the happiest people in the world.
Hmm.
They
Let's
are
change
happy.
that. Just kidding. Let's link that to the homogeneity and the racism.
Honestly, that might be part of it.
Yeah, Allison said Denmark's more advanced in the beginning of the episode. I would like to say that is not my sentiment.
Oh, well, on paper they are, but like the reasons for that, yeah, they're almost all white. It's almost all white country. So it's funny because we're talking about feeling not productive. But the whole reason why we started this podcast because of the pandemic. Like this podcast would not have been born if we weren't at home like this. So yeah, I think that's interesting because it's kind of meta, us talking about like not feeling like we're doing anything.
Yeah.
But we did this.
But it wasn't out of, or I don't, honestly, I don't know what's out of like feeling guilty, but I feel like this was out of just, we were literally bored and thought that like starting a podcast would be fun.
Yeah.
So, it was also something to do in the meantime while we waited for, classes to start. But, because at the time we did not know that, we weren't expecting to like continue this past summer.
Yeah, we thought that this was just going to be a quarantine project. I mean, because we're still technically in quarantine. So it is still a quarantine project. But yeah, we didn't start this out of like feeling guilty for not being productive. It was just, we were so damn bored.
Also, we just got a lot to say.
Clearly, yeah. And, but like this podcast did make us feel productive. Because I remember the like first, I guess, official meeting we had about this. Both of us were like, oh my God, we finally have something to do. Let's like set up a Google Calendar schedule for this. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had like I don't think we did. But we had a shared notes app, like notes on Notes app. And we were putting down all our ideas and then being like, oh, let's do this, blah, blah, blah. It was really fun. It felt nice to have something that you enjoy and have it not be threatened by the pandemic. Because, I mean, we're doing it, like, through Zoom.
Virtually, yeah.
Yeah. So, virtually, sorry. No free promo. Not for Zoom.
I'm probably still going to include that, though. But Zoom, if you do want to give us a subscription so we're not stuck with these 40-minute meetings, I won't complain. So, but now that school has started, Mr. Jafeth. Oh, that was weird. I've never...
Yeah.
Because we call our friends like Miss whatever, but okay. Anyways, Jafeth, now that school has started, how do you feel? Now we have things to do. And you have an internship.
I feel I'm a goofy Cooper. I'm just kidding. But let me add that to my list of movies to watch. But
SpongeBob SquarePants.
I feel more productive and not lazy, but lazy at the same time. Which isn't crazy because that's usually how I feel even when I'm in school. But this past August, for about, it'll be a month and a half already that I started this internship. I was excited because it was another thing to do. And the internship lasts through November, like mid-November. And then classes started. And then I was very excited because more things to do. And then I remembered again, like, this podcast takes time, and also I'm going to be editing as well now. So it's another time commitment. So now I'm just trying to fit everything on my schedule. I like it because my schedule looks really nice, like my calendar. I like organizing my calendar. Yes. But it's also very exhausting because whenever I see, like, a chunk of time in my calendar, it's not actually free time. I need to do homework at that time. And it's so frustrating because I think, okay, I'm done with my day. And then I realize, oh, I have this reading for our elections class. Which is very,
elections
very
class
dense.
Specifically.
Yes, because
those readings are hard.
Those readings are so dense. And I'm learning, I think.
I think I'm learning.
Go on.
So far.
I learned about the Electoral College.
Yeah, and I'm learning that your vote really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it basically confirmed what I already thought.
Yeah, like much. Vaguely. But now we're like, oh, now we have like numbers to put with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we do? I didn't even pay attention to
Or kind of, or at least like empirical evidence. And it's also like the reading for... Did you do the reading for Monday?
No.
I just did it, but it was basically saying like, For the most part, like for a good chunk of people, your vote or like your political decision isn't even your own decision.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's kind of pessimistic, especially
Yeah.
because election season is coming up. But yeah, for me, I've been going through this weird thing. Like, I keep doing homework even though I don't need to. Like, I could not procrastinate, but like, I could still wait like another day or two and have enough time to finish it, you know? But
Hmm.
I already told Jafeth about this before, but now because we had nothing to do before, and now we have like actually like tasks and assignments to do now, I
Hmm.
feel kind of uncomfortable having that to-do list just linger there when I know, oh, I could do that assignment and like clear these tasks. Now it's weird. It's gone from guilt to like anxiety of like, oh, but I could do this and let me do this and blah 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 like that.
It's so funny because I found myself whenever I stopped doing an assignment, or because me and my other friend were in another class together. Our class doesn't actually meet every class period.
Hmm.
So we take it like we set up Zoom meetings for ourselves to dedicate to that class, to
Oh, like as
dedicate
if you
to
were
that class.
going.
Yeah, so we do the homework that she assigns during that
Oh.
time.
Uh-huh.
And it's been great because like we finish stuff and I don't feel stressed about that class.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after I finish the task for that class, after that I just want to knock out because music classes to me are very draining because it's a lot of language that I do not understand.
Yeah.
And so after that I just want to like knock out, but I can't because then there's still more reading and more things to do. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just I've come to realize that a lot of the like I don't have that much free time, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes me so sad because it's like a shock coming from literally doing nothing to not having free time.
Yeah. The
So
like
it's like
ramp
very
up,
odd.
there was no ramp up to it. We just went like
Mm-hmm.
boom. I have another question for you, Jafet. During the summer, like when we had nothing to do and you felt like kind of antsy and whatnot, like how did you spend your time?
How did I spend my time? I don't. Well, right after the pandemic, or right not right after the
Right
pandemic,
after.
right after right after we got banished from our college campus,
Vanished.
I had actually pre-ordered the Switch. So for a week, I played the Switch obsessively, and then after a bit, I felt myself not doing my work. So then I stopped myself from using my Switch until the end of classes. But by that time, I was already kind of bored of the game that I got.
Oh.
So I wasn't playing as much.
Mm-hmm.
So for a bit, it was the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was watching weird YouTube videos and cleaning a little because I find cleaning a little therapeutic.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And then yeah,
Yeah.
just I spend most of my time on like my computer, so on Twitter, YouTube.
Did you watch anything good on like Netflix?
I mean, I rewatched Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, same. I think everyone did.
Yeah, yeah. When it because I don't ever remember it not being on Netflix. Because I remember I watched it on Netflix like years ago.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and then it like I guess they took it off and then they put it back on this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I didn't know they took it off.
Yeah.
But I rewatched it again. Still a really good show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally got around to watching Legend of Korra. Because after I rewatched it the
Uh-huh.
first time, I tried to look for Legend of Korra, but then I got too lazy looking for the episodes allegedly illegally online. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
This time I actually got around to it.
Did you
So,
watch all 3 seasons?
of Legend of Korra?
Korra.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I could not get through the first, like, 3 episodes.
I think the show was a little. No, I think the story was good. I just think the way it was executed wasn't as weirdly. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it didn't captivate me as much as Last Airbender did.
I know that, like, I saw people talking about, like, a lot of the, or main part of the reason as to why, like, Legend of Korra kind of had problems. Because, like, they only aired the first season on TV, and the other 2 seasons were only online. So, like,
Oh.
The production process was kind of whack.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Anyways, yes, Avatar was really good, and I watched it as well.
And I did absolutely nothing else besides contemplate learning another language and maybe taking an online class, but I didn't actually go through with any of those. What about you?
You were like, oh, contemplate learning another language, and then I thought about how like those conversations we have where we type in Korean letters.
Oh my god.
But it's like Spanish or English.
Yeah. That's funny.
That is funny. Me? What did I do? I don't remember because I feel like the start of quarantine was like a year ago.
It's is it gonna be 6 months? In like next week?
Okay, that's sad. Anyways, the way that I thought this was gonna be over by July.
Oh yeah, everyone thought it was gonna be over a month after. Or I remember articles coming out after we got sent home from school. They were like, "Oh, the worst to come is like in April, or first half of April." And I was like, "Oh, that's good."
Wow.
And then their cases are still going up. So.
And we're still here. Oh, how did I spend my time? Mostly on the couch.
Yes.
Watching, because I have YouTube like on my TV, like, like living room TV too. So I really didn't go anywhere. But then after a while, I felt really lazy. So I got a plant. I feel like I say this in like every episode now.
Yeah.
But like taking care of plants helped. I dabbled in art. That also helped. Just like it wasn't something productive in terms of like career stuff, but it gave me something to do and like not think too much.
Mm-hmm.
Just like focus on what's in front of me and do that. Yeah. And I still do those things now, even though class started. So that's fun. I have too many squash plants now because some of the seeds that I planted, they moved, or like I think when I was like digging, they kind of moved to other places. So they're all like popping up out of nowhere now, and now I'm getting scared because I might have to K-word some of them.
Do it.
Because I don't have room. Did you take up any new hobbies or no?
No.
No? Okay, that's okay. You don't need to.
I know.
That's
why I didn't. I'm not one to really take up new hobbies for some reason. Like there's so many things I want to try, and then I try them and I'm like, this was a waste of time.
Like what?
Well, drawing. I remember I used to really want to draw and do art and stuff, but I have absolutely no patience. And then I get really frustrated when what I saw in my head, what I envisioned in my head is not on paper, does not translate to paper.
Oh, yeah, that's frustrating.
So then I stop drawing, and then what else did I do? There's like other things, but I also have like little spikes of what I do. Oh, there was like 1 week where I got really back into like PC gaming, and I played League of Legends a lot for like a week straight. And I missed that. But then I remembered why I stopped. It was because I would literally spend my entire day playing a game, because games, well, on League not that much, but I used to play a lot on another game like League. It's called Dota 2, and those games, they can take from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So
Dang.
The games can take really long, and it doesn't have a surrender function like League of Legends does. So it doesn't matter what like happens, you can't like, so your team can't surrender, so you kind of have to like
play the whole thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I stopped playing that, because I started playing in high school and I would not do my homework, or like I would do it, but like I would start at like 1 a.m.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
1 a.m.
Yeah. So, but I got back into that, which was really fun. That reignited my love for MOBAs.
For what?
Multiplayer online something. It's the type of game that those are. Like League of Legends.
I don't play.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, I play Wii Sports.
Oh. All right. Well, I think that's a good spot to
wrap it up.
Stop the episode. To wrap it up, yeah. We had a great conversation about productivity and capitalism.
It was a productive conversation about productivity.
Oh, wow.
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 That was a good one.
Anyway, Well, yeah, that's the end of the episode.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our banter and our anti-capitalist remarks.
I feel like every episode has anti-capitalist remarks.
Yeah,
Funny.
that's part of the conditioning.
Man. Yeah, it probably.
And the brainwashing. But yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you.
We upload every Monday at 11 p.m.
Uh-huh.
on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes.
Yes.
And where can they find us if they want to
Where can they find us?
Miss Allison?
On Instagram, and our username is at
Wow.
existingpodcast. So go ahead, follow us there. Jafeth, what's your song recommendation for this week?
Oh my gosh, my song
Your
recommendation.
song recommendation.
I actually just listened to it again today for the first time in a long time, and I fell in love with it. It's called Wolf and I by O Land.
I've never heard
Really
of
good.
that.
Mwah.
I'll look it up
It's
after.
a really good song. Yes.
Today I will be recommending Moon Eyes by, I don't know how to pronounce this artist's name, but Cyril? It's spelled Cehyryl, but it's a really cute song.
Interesting. All right. Well, those were the recommendations for this episode. Thanks for listening once again. And go be unproductive and go against capitalism.
Stare at
because that
nothing.
is an actively anti-capitalist thing to do.
Yeah. Take a nap. Do nothing. Watch that dumb YouTube video because it's not dumb. Stay in your houses.
Yes.
Wear a mask.
Yes.
Don't go to parties.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
All that.
Please don't. Oh, we'll see you next week with 2 episodes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.